Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at the life of Dr. Jose P. Rizal, drawing from a rich collection of historical archives, his personal letters, and some really insightful academic analyses you've shared.
And our mission here is, I think, a crucial one. We all know Rizal as this bronze statue, the national hero.
Right, he's almost a monument, not a man.
Exactly. So we want to move past that and get into the specific, often very surprising human details that really defined him, his work, his beliefs, and the immense personal cost of it all.
What's immediately striking when you look at the material is this huge gap between the man and his circumstances. I mean, he's producing world-changing literature, but at the same time, he's dealing with the most basic human problems.
Yes, it's this constant tension. You have this brilliant man of letters who, according to the sources, was constantly, and I mean constantly, broke. He's facing just heartbreaking family issues, romantic struggles, and this constant fear that any letter he sends home could be used against the people he loves. He's a revolutionary mind, yes, but he's also just a son and a brother trying to get by.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning with the name itself, which is a story in its own right. José Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realanonda.
A mouthful.
Yeah.
And it comes from his parents, Francisco and Gracia Rizal and Teodora Morales Alonso. It's a name with a long established heritage.
But the key detail is that they had to deliberately shorten that heritage. His legal name included Mercado y Alonso.
That's right. And it was his older brother, Paciano, who insisted he drop the Mercado and just use the surname Rizal.
Why? What was the reason for that?
It was pure political strategy. Paciano was a known activist. He was a very vocal supporter of the executed priest, Jose Burgos.
So the name Mercado was toxic.
It was a liability. By switching to Rizal, which comes from luncheon, meaning Green Jose could create some distance, he gave him a bit of cover. But what's really telling is how Jose himself felt about it. He wrote in a letter that because the name was so new, it made him feel like, and this is his quote, an illegitimate child.
Wow. So that was the price of admission for his education, for his safety.
That's the texture of his early life right there. But, his intellectual journey starts in a place of comfort. His first teacher was his mother. She taught him the abecada, the alphabet, when he was only 3.
And that intellectual ability was matched by this deep emotional sensitivity. A year later, his younger sister, Concepcion, dies at age 3.
And the sources say Rizal, just a little boy himself, wept intensely. It really grounds him. And by the time he's 8, he's already writing poetry like Sa Aking Magka Kababata, which shows this emerging nationalist feeling.
So then he moves into his formal education. At Ateneo Municipal, he excels. He earns his Bachelor in Artes in 1877.
The whole Jesuit approach there was about comprehensive development, ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. It was advanced, it was supportive, it was structured.
Which makes the contrast with his next stop, the University of Santo Tomas, or UST, all the more jarring.
A huge contrast. He first studied philosophy and letters, because that's what his father wanted, but then he switches to medicine.
With a very specific goal in mind.
To treat his mother's failing eyesight. But his time at UST was, well, it was awful. The sources point to 3 big reasons.
Okay.
1, hostile Spanish teachers. 2, the demeaning way they treated Filipino students. And 3, just an outdated, frankly ancient teaching system.
And this is where you see him shift from just being a scholar to being an activist. He doesn't just complain, he forms a student group, the Compañerismo.
To defend themselves, to protect the Filipino students from the insults and even the physical attacks from their Spanish classmates. This is where he learns to fight back not with fists, but with organization.
And that friction, that constant pushback at UST, is really what propels him toward Europe.
It is. And the tragic irony is that his mother was completely against him studying more. She had this premonition that, quote, too much knowledge would put his life in danger.
He was right.
She was absolutely right. So he leaves in secret, May 3, 1882, using the name Jose Mercado. It's like something out of a spy novel.
And once he's in Europe, the struggle just becomes, it becomes financial. By 1885, he's in Madrid, and he's completely dependent on money from home that barely ever arrives.
And you have to understand the sacrifice his family was making. There's this one heartbreaking detail where Paciano has to sell Rizal's young bull, his Basiro, just to send him enough money to eat.
Unbelievable.
Get this. The sources confirm he once took a final exam in Greek without having eaten breakfast or lunch. He was starving while becoming one of Europe's leading intellectuals.
And somehow under all that pressure, the idea for Noli Me Tangere begins to form.
It does. He was directly inspired by Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. He even proposed it as a group project to other Filipinos in 1884.
But no one else stepped up.
Nope. So he decided to write the whole thing himself. And when he finally finished it in 1887, he had no money to publish it.
This is where his friend Maximo Viola comes in.
Viola loaned him 300 pesos, a fortune back then, to print 2,000 copies in Berlin. And even then, to save money, Rizal had to make a painful choice. He cut an entire chapter, Elias et Salome, from the final book.
He had to sacrifice a piece of his own art just to get it out into the world.
Exactly.
So when he makes that first trip back home in 1887, he's a success. He performs the eye surgery on his mother, famously waiting for the cataract to be right.
The locals were in awe. They started calling him Dr. Uliman, the German doctor.
But that local fame quickly turned into colonial panic. The governor-general, Emilio Terrero, demanded a copy of the Noli.
And the official censors, led by a Padre Salvador Font, declared it subversive. They recommended banning it completely. No importing, no creating, no selling. The clock was ticking for Rizal.
And it wasn't just fiction. He was writing these deep sociological essays like Ang Katamaran ng Gaga Pilipino, The Indolence of the Filipinos.
Which is such a brilliant piece of rhetoric. He starts by admitting, yes, there is indolence among Filipinos. But then he pivots.
He says it's a consequence, not a cause.
Precisely. He argued it was manufactured by Spanish policy. Things like forced labor, wars that Filipinos were forced to fight for Spain, constant pirate attacks, the total destruction of pre-colonial trade with places like China and Siam.
His argument was, why would you work hard if everything you earn will just be taken away?
Exactly. He wasn't defending laziness, he was dissecting colonization.
That kind of direct criticism, of course, couldn't last. He was arrested on July 6, 1892. The charge was carrying subversive leaflets.
And just 9 days later, he was deported to Dapitan. The Spanish meant for it to be a political prison, to isolate him.
But instead, he turns it into his own personal laboratory for community development.
It is truly astonishing what he did there. He becomes an engineer, a community organizer. He builds a gravity-fed water system to provide clean water. He installs street lighting. He cleans up swamps to fight malaria.
He's not just a thinker anymore, he's a builder.
He's an educator, too. Every afternoon, from 2 to 4, he's teaching the local kids languages, geography, math.
And on top of all that, he's a scientist.
A prolific one. He's collecting specimens for European museums. And this is incredible. He discovers 3 species that are later named after him. A flying lizard, Draco Rizali, a beetle, a Begonia Rizali, and a frog, Rhacophorus Rizali.
Wow.
His curiosity was just boundless. Even in exile, he even started a farmers' cooperative to try and break the Chinese monopoly on local trade.
And it's in the middle of all this incredible productivity that he meets his dulce extranjera.
His sweet foreigner, Josephine Bracken.
She was only 18 when she arrived in 1895 with her adoptive father, who was seeking Rizal's help for his failing eyes.
And you can imagine, for 2 people in such an isolated place, they fell in love. Fast.
They wanted to get married, but the local priest, Padre Obak, refused.
He wouldn't do it without permission from the Archbishop of Cebu, because Rizal was a known Mason. So they live together, but then tragedy strikes. They lose a stillborn son, who Rizal himself buries on his land.
But they do eventually marry.
They too. And the sources confirm this. For Victor Balaguer married them in Catholic rites just 2 hours before Rizal's execution. It was his final act to make sure she was recognized as his wife.
Which brings us to that final journey. In June 1896, he gets permission to leave Dapitan.
Right, he's going to serve as a military doctor for Spain in Cuba. He's not escaping. He's leaving with official approval. But while he's on a ship waiting for transport, the Philippine Revolution breaks out.
And that's when the crap closes.
It is. While he's sailing toward Spain, Governor-General Blanco sends a secret telegram ahead. It paints Rizal, the man who volunteered to serve Spain, as the mastermind of the revolution.
A complete betrayal.
Total betrayal. His friends in Singapore even try a last-ditch legal effort. They hire an English lawyer to file for a writ of habeas corpus.
But it failed.
It was denied. The ship he was on, the Colon, was flying a Spanish flag, so he was under Spanish jurisdiction. There was no way out.
His trial was a foregone conclusion. On December 26, the court announces the verdict: execution by firing squad.
Those last hours in Fort Santiago were just haunting. He gives his sister Trinidad the small alcohol lamp with his final poem, Mi Ultimo Adios, hidden inside.
He writes his last letters.
And then there's this one detail, right before the march to Bagumbayan. A Spanish army doctor, Dr. Castillo, checks his pulse.
And?
It was completely normal. No fear, no panic. He walked to his death with this profound calm, having already forgiven his executioners at his last meal.
His true legacy, though, is the wisdom he left behind. Let's look at a few of the core ideas from the Noli Me Tangere.
The first one is a direct challenge to the comfortable elite. From chapter 35, he writes, "Cowardice is accepting many comforts and fame if the nation continues to suffer."
It's a powerful indictment of complacency, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Then there's his view on education from chapter 19. A nation's progress is reflected in the type of education it provides. He saw education as the engine of genuine progress.
And finally, there's a lesson in strategy, almost disguised as a lesson in humility.
The teacher in the book says, "Why don't we imitate the roses? When the wind blows, the plant sways. If it faces the wind and stands straight, the stems will surely break and the petals will fall off."
In other words, pure rigidity in the face of overwhelming force is just suicide. Strength lies in flexibility.
Exactly.
So this deep dive has taken us from a name change born of political necessity through the financial struggle to publish his masterpieces to the incredible scientific work he did in exile.
And what you see throughout his life is this constant battle between intellectual idealism, what humanity could be, and the brutal reality of colonial power. His life shows that knowledge, when you apply it with courage, becomes the most powerful weapon there is.
And so we want to leave you with a final thought, one that comes directly from Rizal's own critique of policy. He once asked, "Is it not bad treatment to merely remedy the ailment without investigating its cause, and if it is known, fearing to suppress it?"
If real change means you have to understand the root cause of a problem,
Then we ask you, what is the uninvestigated ailment, the Karamdaman, in your own life or your work that you've been hesitant to really dig into and solve? And what is the version of the Noli Me Tangere that you need to create to finally expose it?